2023, 20 hour, 1:30 p.m. has arrived. So call meeting to order and open up the opportunity for public comment.
Sorry.
Is that our echo? Okay.
Got it.
I know some people think I like to hear myself talk, but not doubly so.
Sorry, I'm having
That's fine.
technical issues right now.
Okay. Just let us know when you're. Aye. Motion carries. Okay, it brings us to item 4. We have several topics of discussion today. First one I see is attributed to Mr. Stoner. We have received a late request for action on participation in a grant program. Kirk, I'll let you speak to this.
Sure. So Commissioners, I gave you a briefing sheet on the topic. It's part of the Inflation Reduction Act. EPA released guidelines for a climate pollution reduction grant program. It has two components: $250 million non-competitive planning grant component to upfront, followed by a $4.6 billion competitive grant for implementation of those plans. The planning grant is open to the 67 most populous MSAs in the nation. So the Harrisburg-Carlisle MSA is number 98. So as it stands now, we're not in that non-competitive funding range. But if other MSAs opt out, which we've been given signals that they have, the Harrisburg-Carlisle MSA could move up into have eligibility for that $1 million planning. Metropolitan statistical areas are eligible applicants, which includes Cumberland County municipalities that are here, any other municipalities throughout the MSA. One eligible applicant can lead a planning effort for the entire MSA. So it doesn't have to be a county or a regional entity. It can be one entity that within there that would lead it for the entire region. So what we have came forward for the board's consideration. Carlisle Borough has volunteered to lead an application for the Harrisburg-Carlisle MSA. Just some background on climate action planning. So last year, if you recall, in January, the commissioners adopted Cumberland County's climate action plan. We completed that as part of DEP's local climate action planning process. So it was a really good partnership between Dickinson College, Shippensburg University, and our planning department, as well as our municipalities and other stakeholders in the region to develop the plan. Implementation, that's ongoing. So we have applications into DEP for electric vehicle purchases, the infrastructure to do that for county vehicles. When we talked to EPA, we said, hey, we just completed a planning activity here. We really don't want to start into another planning activity. Can we use our county climate action plan for this program? Their answer was no. They said, if you're going to be part of the program, you need to either be covered by another plan, by another agency. So it could be the statewide planning grant, or it could be covered as part of another planning grant that another member of your MSA would conduct. So I think that's kind of the key point for us. I know from the planning department's standpoint, I do not have the capacity, nor does the department have the capacity to lead a major federal planning initiative around climate, which we just completed. And I know from our standpoint, we're very happy with the plan we have. I think it's very practical. It covers our county and what we need to do. We're really not happy. We're really not looking to create a new planning initiative. Rather, we want to make sure that we're covered for potential implementation grants. So when you look at implementations, $4.6 billion is heavy money that's being thrown at this. We want to make sure that when we get to the end of this planning effort, that we would maintain eligibility for that implementation funding. So again, either we would have to lead our effort on our own, which we're not interested in doing, or be part of another planning effort. The state's put in a grant request, so they'll be doing one. Carlisle Borough's request today to the board is for the borough to request participation in the program and then request a letter of support for us. So we would participate in the effort with the borough. Joel and I have talked, and I've notified him of our very limited capacity, that we're not able to put much staff time at all into this, but we're willing to support the effort, submit our plan to that effort to make sure that our existing plan and the recommendations included therein are part of the overall planning grant that's consistent then with the climate pollution reduction grant. Again, make us eligible for those implementation grants that will be coming up in it's probably a year or 2 years. But I'll leave it at that. Joel, I don't know if you had anything that you wanted to add to that.
You are one of a handful of people who really does understand this. I'm very impressed, Kirk. Yeah, just to add a couple things. Joel Hicks, 503 North Hanover, Carlisle Borough. I think the important distinction is why would we roll under a metro area grant when we could roll under the state? And it really comes down to having a larger share of the pie. Basically, the way they approach the planning grants, half of them went to states, half of them went to metro areas. That approach looks like the way they're going to do implementation grants. So roughly speaking, I assess that the implementation portions will go about 15 to 17 million to states and 15 to 17 million to the three biggest metro areas in Pennsylvania. I would prefer to have our county, our area be under that pie than the others, which is going to be much more diluted. And just, I think it's a bit of a long shot, but I actually would not be surprised if we would be picked up. We'd probably put it less than 50%, but not much less than that. And, the planning effort would be not commit resources on any part that's signed on unless they wanted to add to the effort. And as I spoke with Kurt, I think you all probably have the artifacts and the work done that would not require any additional effort to hold under that final submission. So the only thing I'll add is it looks like we are going to get a letter of support from Harrisburg, which that was sort of the prerequisite in my mind that we needed to have to submit the letter. So we are going to submit it. We would love to have Cumberland County be on board. So, but happy to answer any other questions you might have.
I guess as it stands now, Joel, we have City Harrisburg, Carlisle Borough, Wormlingsburg Borough, and Camp Hill Borough have also been requested.
Correct. We're still waiting for Camp Hill to get a letter, but we're going to proceed with the Carlisle, the Harrisburg area, and Cumberland for sure, and we hope to add those other two boroughs as well.
And we've been told by EPA too, as we move down the path, if other municipalities want to join the effort, later on they can do that. So it's not an exclusive club that joins up front. As we move ahead, if other municipalities want to join on to the effort, they're able to do that. And for some municipalities, unlike Cumberland County, they don't have their own plans that may want one for their own jurisdiction. I think they could get some benefit and value out of joining on to this initiative if we're selected for funding.
The answer to your questions, Commissioners have.
Kirk, when we did the plan, it was explained that this was going to enable us to qualify for some of the specific electric infrastructure build out potentially. So I don't remember anything said at that time that there were going to be additional steps needed. Did we anticipate that this was coming?
No, so it's a good question, Gary. It's something that the state's probably wrestling with a little bit too, because we did our plan under the state local climate action planning program, where the really focus is looking at local governments to do their own plans. I don't think at the time probably DEP was anticipating there would be such a federal push to come out and do these other plans, potentially on top of some of ours, like we're seeing now. So I think from our standpoint, we've already seen the benefits from our LCAT plan, where we received technical assistance and hopefully financial assistance from DEP to implement our plan. But then there could be also opportunities from the federal assistance that's coming down too. So we're kind of, for us, I think we're in a win-win situation because we've been so proactive in doing a plan through the DEP program.
So what obligations are implied in this?
As I see it, none. We put in our letter of support to be a participant in the study process. Joel and I have talked. I think we made it very clear we don't have the capacity to help in any major way on this effort. We want to make sure that the recommendations and the policies and practices that are in our plan are then also included in this MSA plan. So that when it comes to implementation, we can point to that, say these issues are included in this plan, and we're potentially applying for funding for the event.
Is there a reason that we couldn't have known about this sooner? Because this is being, put on the table in front of us within days and action now.
So I think what I've seen, Gary, a lot with some of the federal programs the EPA is working on, they're trying to get them rolled out quickly. And a lot of times the notification isn't very prompt. I've seen it on this program. I've seen it also on the Energy Efficiency Conservation Block Grant Program that the board took action on 2 or 3 meetings ago. And I think Joel will probably speak to this too, as we've asked questions of EPA about this program. I think they know enough at this point to be dangerous, but there's other details they're trying to fill in along the way as they go. I don't think that the request, Joel making us aware of the podcast, I don't think that the request is any reflection on Joel, the borough, or anyone else that's organized. I think it's just a product of how EPA is rolling some of these things out.
I've had some other metro area contacts this week, including Richmond, Virginia, which is in the top 25, who is just becoming aware of like major urban areas. Many of their staff are not really aware of. They know it's out there, but they didn't realize the deadline is literally this week to get your letter in. So I agree with Kirk's assessment. It's been a fast-moving grant submission track. So
Kirk or Joel, I'm trying to find a reason not to support this. I can't find any at the moment. Does this jeopardize anything with the state's program?
Now, we've been in contact with the DEP representative who led the local climate action plan program through DEP. They're encouraging that if we're interested in implementation to participate somehow, either in the state program, the state plan that they're doing, or the MSA program that Joel's requesting our letter of support for.
and just to clarify, one of the reasons they are doing that is since we're kind of on the border of being on there. If we got picked up, it would actually mean more funding
Right.
implementation for all of Pennsylvania to have another metro area within that 67 number. So they were proactive in reaching out to other Pennsylvania metro areas to try to get them to submit one, because it only means more money coming into Pennsylvania potentially.
So one plan doesn't negatively impact the other.
No.
Correct. We are under no obligation financially for anything at the moment.
No, if we're selected, the planning grant from the feds is up to 100% federal share. So
Right.
there's not a local share that we have to put in.
I would, as a courtesy, if I found out on April 29th, we got in there, a couple of hours, maybe coordinating with her to make sure that everything that was in the current cap was up to date, make sure that we didn't want any additions. Since this planning grant, we have up to 3 years to spend. It's $1 million we'd have up to 3 years to spend it. So if you had some sort of tool or some sort of monitoring thing that you thought might be like good to complement your current plan, we could add that on. But I mean, outside the hours of courtesy calls to your staff, you would be under no obligation to do anything additional without you wanting to do that. But you would have an opportunity to think of other types of monitoring you might want to do on the way to final plan.
I have no other questions. Thank you.
I don't really have any questions. I really like this program. One of the things that we talk about as a county is the ability to bring more money into the county, and this sounds like this could be a good opportunity. I'm hearing that if things don't, if things pan out and we don't like it, we're under no obligation. It's a letter of support. But it sounds like it could have the potential to allow us to do some things with our greening up the footprint program. So
If we are unsuccessful with the MSA initiative, I think we would want to work with the state to make sure that we're covered with a state plan. And again, the indication we can get from the state, again, low bar on that, making sure that the policies and practices and projects that are in our plan are included then in the statewide plan.
when the county did greening up the footprint, the Inflation Reduction Act didn't exist, if I remember correctly. So this is a whole new ballgame.
Right.
I don't have anything further.
Kirk, anything more?
Last piece, we talked about the implementation grants. What would that cover? So when you look at our existing climate action plan, everything from soup to nuts in there. A lot of times I think folks, when they enter these planning efforts, get too wrapped up in debating science and political issues on it and miss the point of what we want to do with it. You know, energy efficiency is big for our facilities, for municipal facilities. Transportation is our biggest greenhouse gas emitter in the county. There are opportunities to look at major transportation projects we could coordinate with our municipalities on. Energy efficiency retrofits of some of our homes and housing. We heard that through our planning process. So when you look at the implementation side of this, I think it's pretty broad, and there's a lot of checkpoints in our plan that could benefit from potentially applying for some of the grants on the backside.
Tying this to transportation could be critical. I mean, that could really be a game changer for us. I just did a PennDOT survey, the other survey, and that was one of the things there is congestion. Is that important? Is that something that's important to you? I mean, this really could make a difference. I will make a motion to approve the letter of support regarding the notice of intent to participate in the CPRG grant program from Harrisburg-Carlisle, PA Metropolitan Statistical Area.
I'll second.
It's seconded. There's no further questions. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Please register. Okay. I guess that moves us on to Project Einstein presentation regarding the site select.
Hi, I'm Andrea Brownell. I work with a economic development consulting firm named Maxis Advisors, and we provide our clients with all sorts of economic development related services, from helping them with site selection when they're looking for new locations, existing industry expansion, real estate advisory services, helping them do the cost analysis when they're comparing different locations where they may expand. And part of that includes identifying economic development incentives and just different opportunities that could be put into play to help reduce their cost of their project and then ongoing costs going forward. And so we have a client who is an existing industry here in Carlisle. I am not allowed to say the company's name yet. The project is actually going in front of their board within the next couple of weeks. And then I'm hoping after that, I'll be able to come back to the county and share the company name. I know Janet's organization is under an NDA, and so is the borough. So I've done a more detailed presentation for them where I was able to share that information and a lot more information about the project itself. But I'm hoping today to give you an overview of the project so that you're aware of it and you can get to become familiar with it. And if you have questions, that you can use it as a resource to get to understand it better. Oh, okay. All right. So this existing industry has set an amazing goal for themselves where they would like to be able to increase their revenue by 25% annually based on new products by 2030. And so in order to obtain that goal, they know that they need to make sure they're on the cutting edge of technology and introducing new product lines before their competitors are, which of course is going to involve a lot of investment into their research and development capabilities, as well as making sure that their manufacturing operations are as efficient and high tech as possible. So for this particular project, what they are doing is they're looking at 4 different facilities that they have where they feel like they would have room to invest and improve their R&D capabilities and upgrade their manufacturing operations. And so Carlisle is one of their locations that they are looking at as a potential location to make this goal work for them. And just to kind of give you background on the project itself. It's an $89 million investment, kind of split between research and development and manufacturing upgrades. And for the research and development capabilities, they would actually need to do a physical expansion of their facility to make more room for lab space and lab equipment. So there is a physical component to it. And then with their manufacturing operations, it's about 56 million worth of investment in upgrading the facilities and bringing in new manufacturing lines, and also switching out some other older lines to more high tech, more safer equipment, more environmentally friendly equipment as well. So that's what makes up the 89 million. It's split between this physical expansion to enable them to do more research and development capabilities, as well as upgrading and expanding their manufacturing operations. So you'll see the split there between the two to get to that 89 million. And then from a headcount standpoint, what this investment will do is the company already has over 1,000 employees in the borough that they employ. And this particular investment, especially related to the research and development, would bring in 22 new positions with an amazing average wage of over $95,000 a year. They have a really robust benefits package that they're very proud of. They has all the bells and whistles. They offer all their employees health and dental and vision insurance, paid time off, 401ks with a match. They do profit sharing. They have a big commitment to training and really encourage their employees to also go back and improve their education, and they do tuition reimbursement. And the 22 positions that they would bring in are a variety. There are some really high level technical positions that require PhDs, but you'll see on the lower end, it runs the gamut where they have positions that also are open to high school and college graduates, so that you could come in and be trained. And if you wanted to start a career in something that's related to research and development, you would have that opportunity and they would train you. So a variety of positions, and again, just really great wages with a really solid benefit package that would come out of the investment. And when I first reached out to the County Economic Development Group with the potential project, and was able to share a lot of information. Hey, they have an existing industry, it's a long-standing corporate citizen. They're very involved in their community. They do all sorts of things with sustainability, with training their employees, with doing different things to give back to the community. They, I think, historically have not reached out to the community for any sort of economic development incentives in the past, but given the current market that we're in and how competitive it is, and with some financial volatility in the market, everybody is looking at every cent and comparing locations and really making sure that they pick the best location that they're going to get their biggest return on investment. So the question is there anything that the community has in their toolbox that could help support this project from an economic development standpoint? Had the same conversation with the governor's action team at the state. They have come back offering 2 different grant programs through the Pennsylvania First program and then through the WebNet training program. And so I have that part taken care of. I'm now focusing more on the local level and if there's any programs that would be available to help support this existing industry expansion and help bring this project to Carlisle. With that, I know typically when I work economic development projects, we go to the county and we ask that information, and that you're able to get like an incentives proposal or a letter of support saying this is what we would be able to offer. I understand that Pennsylvania is a little bit different, where you don't have that upfront conversation, that it really is in a public hearing that you just make the request and then you vote on the spot. So it's a little bit different. So this is why we try to do this approach, where at least I could get the project in front of the county leadership and give you a chance to digest it and think about it. And then when I'm able to come back, hopefully in a couple of weeks, and share the company name, you can have more detailed questions. And I know when I researched Pennsylvania, one of the local tools that popped out at me was the LERTA zone. I know Carlisle has had one historically. I think it's expired, but it has been used in the past. I know some communities will use tax increment financing. Some may go the route of like capping impact fees. So there's various tools that communities are able to use to help support economic development expansion projects. So just kind of wanted to put that out there as what I was thinking when I was researching different opportunities that may be available to help this project. Are there any questions that hopefully I'll be able to give you as much detail as I can without using the company name?
So this is a current employer in here.
It is. It's an existing industry. They've been in the community for over 100 years, very good corporate citizen.
I see they're looking to expand. They need 37,000 square feet. A little less than an acre. I see there's three potential other sites that aren't even close by.
Yes, they look at the product line that is being manufactured and where they have research and development capabilities. And so they have plants in other states that do this product line, that would be well fitted to help support their goals here too.
Understood. But, and if you may not be able to answer this, would it be an advantage to have that expansion here? Or
I think they would love to be able to do the expansion here because they do have a lot of R&D already present in the community and they'd like to build on that. But again, just a lot of it goes down to dollar and cents and where it's gonna make the most sense for them. And this company has a lot of expansion projects in their pipeline for the near future and, you know, a few years out. I think just the ability to show how you can support them will help set this facility up to compete for some of those projects too. So this is just kind of the tip of the iceberg.
thank you.
So now we're talking about expansion within our existing footprint.
Yes, yeah,
They're not looking to acquire additional.
No, they would be able to accommodate this on their existing.
Since you mentioned that one of the reasons the local production facility is being considered is because they have existing assets there and very similar product line or such. So let's say hypothetically they would choose elsewhere. Are those production lines under any threat of relocation away from here?
I have not been told that anything would be taken away. Through various discussions, and we did a plant tour just over a month ago, and walking through and hearing where they've been able to invest in other plants and upgrade things and bring in new manufacturing lines. They have done that in other areas that they haven't done at their Carlisle facility. But I definitely didn't hear anything about something being shut down. They would like to funnel more investment in, and if it makes sense for them to do so.
Okay, so and you've discussed with the governor's action team already, so that's promising. The question I have is, we've typically had very few tools at our disposal, one form or another of the tax abatement, and LERD has been used multiple times. I don't know if we've done tax increment financing, other tax abatement plans or not in recent history, but so the question, the big bugaboo on LERD is that it is intended, of course, to service those areas that are economically depressed. There's supposed to be, a revival, revitalization tool at the same time. So if we're talking about doing redevelopment on an existing property, do we run afoul of the LERD requirements in any way? Governor's action team has not raised that as a concern because that's where it's come from before.
No, and there would be some investment that would go into rehabilitating, refurbishing their existing facility.
Yeah. All right.
So I don't know if that's how you meet, check that box. Is in addition to new construction, there's also improving the existing.
The issues come up, but they've been somewhat liberal in their interpretation in the past. So we were able to qualify for LERD on some projects that, raised some questions at first, but under scrutiny, governor's action team is okay with them. So it's very encouraging, of course. So I think I know who this is. There's not a whole lot of. They're a former client of mine, so they're actually very good company. So
Who's a former client?
This company.
This company, this Project Einstein company that we're not supposed to know who it is. You know who it is?
You can figure it out.
I have not figured it out, but I'm a little alarmed by that, hearing that there was an NDA signed at CAEDC and an NDA signed at the Borough of Carlisle. One of the commissioners on this board knows who this company
I
is.
don't know. I'm surmising from the fact that there's very few employers who fit.
Did you
these
sign an
parameters.
NDA with CAEDC on this?
Commissioners are under orders not to sign an NDA. I'm simply saying that it's pretty.
Commissioner Eichelberger, were you in any of the meetings where a conversation
not.
was had about this company?
I was not.
Janet, thank you.
I did discuss with Governor's Action.
But you
Team
know,
how
you
it's
did
okay.
discuss with Governor's Action Team
They did
about
not
this
disclose
company.
who, they did not disclose who it
You
is.
already have information about this project.
I'm looking at the parameters, I'm familiar with the community enough.
You
that I-
shouldn't have information about this project if this is.
I don't have project-
This
what
is
is
how this
with you?
goes. You come to- What is with me?
What
What
is
is
with
with
you?
you?
It's not hard to tell
You
who's
came
left
to
in
this
Carlisle.
meeting and you said, this is how this
I
works
can
in
guess. I
Pennsylvania.
said I can guess
We're
who
not
it is.
supposed to
All right.
know about this, and that's not what you said, and we'll play it back later.
I'm sure. you
Well,
will.
we'll use, I mean, I know everyone has been committed to keep it under the project code name until we have permission
The
to.
name
It's
has never been, the
unfair,
name has
but
never
it's
been
not
mentioned.
okay.
The name has
Is
never
that
been
you're
mentioned to
coming to
me.
this board and you want to ask for something. And it's a 3-member board, and it is evident to me that if there is a member of the board who has inside information on this project.
There's no inside information.
Sure
I can
sounds
cer-
like it.
Well, you're
You
reaching.
said you
incorrectly.
knew who it was.
I said I can guess who it is.
You
a
said you
small
knew who
community.
it was. You know, it's a
I said I
big
think
deal
I know who it is.
when
It's-
when a private company comes and asks government for money. It's a big deal to say, we want an incentive, we want to use taxpayer dollars for something. And it is alarming that this has been revealed in this meeting.
You were frequently alarmed on things that are
It is alarming
routine.
that this has happened in this meeting.
What's alarming is if you don't know enough about your own community to figure out who this might be.
What is alarming is that you have inside information.
There's no inside information. I surmise it
Keep
from
arguing with me
observation.
about it and prove to me beyond a shadow of a doubt that you have inside information. This
I
is
don't
what
have
you
any
do
inside
when you're caught.
I don't have any inside information. You can call Governor's Action Team and ask them. I
I
confer with
don't
them because
want to
the
call Governor's
unorthodox
Action
thing-
Team. I
Yeah.
want the people that do economic development to be able to do it without interference.
There's no interference.
Sure sounds like there was. Sorry,
Yeah, and
I'm
you're-
sorry.
and you're-
I'm gonna tell you, I'm being really honest with you. It's triggered an alarm for me.
you're using
and it
triggers.
wasn't you.
live but for triggers. You live for
Right,
triggers.
it was information
Well,
given
yeah,
by
I would
Commissioner
assume that
Eichelberger.
any call that was made to state that they would not have used the company name.
They did not.
They would just.
They did
Don't know, why would they
Because-
even mention it to a county commissioner? They seem to know that there was a plan to come to this board. Why would they even mention it to a county commissioner? And I don't know that that happened. I don't know.
Well, thank you for admitting that.
I only am now speculating based upon information given to me in a public meeting by Commissioner Eichelberger, given to all of us. It's
saying
just
it's
not good. We
saying
can't
it.
make good decisions when one has inside
There's no
information
inside information.
and it doesn't share it. When one has inside information,
There
and
was
now
nothing
it
to share.
appears to be some kind of impropriety in it.
There was nothing to share.
Well, it's on you to prove that you haven't done anything
No,
wrong.
it's not. It's really
Okay.
not. You don't, you know, for somebody who's married to a lawyer,
Again,
you really don't
let's
seem
go
to
on the
understand
personal
cases.
attack and let's just stay right here and let's talk about what you said. Let's talk about what you said.
I think you're ready to
Personal
move
attack
on.
is where you go when you have a problem.
You're the one issuing the
I'm
personal
ready to
attack.
move on too. I have stated
Okay,
my
why don't
position.
we move on? So anybody else have additional questions regarding this project?
I'm happy to answer any questions that come up. I left my card on each of the presentations and I really hope within the next couple of weeks I'll be able to share the company name without an NDA. And I'm sure you'll have a lot more questions once you're able to know it. And a company representative would be happy to come at that point as well.
This is already tainted for me. I'll tell you right now, what I heard has already tainted this for me. Yes, Stacy, see,
Yeah,
Thank
I know the governor's action team has said there's nothing we do to help or persuade or anything with the local communities. It's hands off, like we have our proposal.
I know,
and
and
it's the
I
local
understand.
communities that do
I
their
understand,
proposal.
and this is not your fault. Or really your problem. I understand.
So Andrea, I do have just one question
Sure.
for you. Have you scheduled with the school district?
We have been trying to.
Okay.
And with all the different rules and regulations, what I've been told is that they're happy to have a meeting. It needs to be in a public forum and they want to follow the borough's lead. So when the borough does their public vote, then they would want to do their meeting after that.
Okay, okay. I think that's very helpful for the board to have. Thank you. Would you just, Janet, would you just let us know once that meeting has been scheduled? Because that'll help us understand the timing of the rest of the process. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Good luck. Good. All right, if that's all we have on that issue, we'll move right along with the next discussion. We have our quarterly update. Ladies from CAEDC are here to let us know what's going on.
All right. Good afternoon. It's great to be back. You were here last February 22nd, so not quite a quarter ago. So we'll update you from that point to now. As you may recall, our last presentation, we moved to a format that follows our strategic plan with the goals and objectives outlined. So we'll continue to do that. The staff did attend the PETA conference in Harrisburg last week and met with the Office of International Business Development, the Governor's Action Team, and other state officials while they were there. They have met with 36 businesses since February 22nd. We have 22 since February. We have 22 new leads, 3 in the pipeline and 1 in post-closing for our loans. Our objective 1.1, continuing to develop proactive strategies to attract and expand businesses. One of those projects that we're working with, Project Einstein, is here today. Project Purple and Project Heavy Haul are projects that we are working with that are site selection type projects. Investments in various ways are under consideration. And staff continues to meet with our partners at the state and local level that can provide resources or leads, such as the SBA 504. And we have been developing a draft resource list for our local small businesses to use as well. Strengthening financial support for business growth through direct funding or gap funding. Staff continues to build those relationships with local banks. And as you can see from the number of leads, that is paying dividends. And we are seeing more interest from site selectors than in the past. Staff also participated in this South Central PA Business Summit at Shippensburg University last week, where we talked about, you were there. We talked about, we had a table and spoke about our grants available. Staff continues to monitor the LSA grants and the RACPs for any movement. To date, we have 5 LSAs that were approved, and they are waiting. We are all waiting on a response from the state. So I wanted to make you aware of that in case someone reaches out to you. That goes through a process. We are the fiscal agent, and we have not received the documentation yet from the state to move those forward. We do have 20 RACPs in various stages, totaling over $24 million in grant funding. And we await the announcement of new RACP authorizations and are planning for that, as well as RACP applications.
And when does that usually happen?
It's up to the administration. There is no set date. What I can tell you is authorizations typically happen every other year. And the last one was 2021. So we anticipate shortly, I would guess by June of this year. Okay. But that's a guess. On the slide are the available loan funds that we have for businesses, and our most recent acquisition of loan funding was the State Small Business Credit Initiative, the SSBCI. And recall that Those funds are for small and very small businesses targeting the socially and economically disadvantaged individuals in Cumberland County. So we ask for a very small pot of those dollars to assist those businesses that we found to be in a gap situation for our funds. Under redefining the role of the Alliance program and building the membership, we had a founders event that I believe you all participated in that provided a lot of valuable information and prioritization that will be used by our engagement committee that meets tomorrow. So we're excited about moving that forward and continuing the momentum on that. And upcoming events are listed. We have a tourism event coming up in June. We have the Founded on the Green golf event coming up in September. And finally, the annual Alliance event where we will focus on an economic development topic for that large event. Under the pillar of workforce development, identifying current and future workforce needs, we have 8 new engaged visits that have taken place with businesses in the area of workforce. 14 meetings were held with businesses, 3 were held with nonprofit service providers, so that we are able to understand and encourage and leverage resources that they bring to bear with workforce development. And we're also looking at other sources beyond Lightcast for data and want to make sure that they align and work well with what the workforce development board is doing. Also under workforce development, identifying current and future workforce needs within Cumberland County. Staff participated at the Carlisle Career and Job Expo. We did outreach to our loan clients that have a need or requirement to create jobs as a result of receiving those funds. And asked them to participate with us if they had needs. We actually had 4 companies participate with us at a booth. We had 12 positions that were advertised. 2 of them actually were our positions, and 400 job seekers attended that event. So we were pretty excited about that. We were visible. We were doing something for our loan clients internally in the area of workforce development. And then finally, and we'll be looking more closely at this over the next year, we did 4 segments for Women's History Month, identifying women that are in Cumberland County that we could highlight as leaders. We'll be doing similar things throughout the year. We're working with our marketing team on Small Business Week and Manufacturing Week, and identifying similar stories to put out in our publications. Finally, not finally, almost finally, also in workforce development, identifying current and future workforce needs, staff continues to do best practice research about career pathways and attended the PACTA conference, the Pennsylvania Career and Technical Center conference, where they were showcasing career pathways and the importance of career pathways. And we're using that to remember that we have incumbent workers that have gotten into positions and may be interested in moving up, and career pathways would be the way to do that. One way, anyway. I believe this is finally in workforce development. Increasing the ecosystem. We did do a review of the high priority occupations. We identified gaps in training. So these are the highest priority occupations in Cumberland County. And those jobs pay well. They provide the opportunity for people to move up into family sustaining wages. So it's important that we have that training here. What we did was identify the gaps in training, and we're now using that information to share with our educators and training providers as opportunities to meet the needs of our local businesses.
So please bear with my voice. Allergies really hit me hard this week. I did submit a lot of metrics and data again to you all, but I just want to make sure again that you have it all. I will breeze through a lot of it today. I just like to make sure you have the metrics that you're used to seeing from our team. So we did make a big step forward in developing a cohesive brand for CAEDC. So we have signed a scope of work with Relic, our advertising agency here, to kick off a project for developing a brand for our organization. That's something we've never done. We've obviously developed a brand for the destination, but not one for CAEDC as an organization. So that's going to kick off here soon and go through Q3. That's going to be a lot of stakeholder engagement, our board, a lot of partner interviews, and all staff, just to kind of wrap our heads around what does a brand look like for an organization. So really excited about that project. Continuing efforts to identify quality of life and attraction relocation messaging, just a little update on that. We've started reaching out to our young professional groups in the area to see how they are or are not working in the relocation space. This is a very new initiative just to see how they can be a partner of ours. I think last time I was here, I was talking about how we've been reaching out to real estate groups. This was just another group we identified as maybe a potential partner to kind of help us get our arms around some of this messaging. Switching over to our objective for increasing visitation and enhancing the visitor experience, we're really starting to kick off advertising for the year. So we've had some Facebook advertising running for our coffee and chocolate trail that started back in February. And we have some running for beer trail, which relaunched just a couple weeks ago. We do have some lingering advertising running for the last year's DCED tourism co-op program. So we take advantage of that because we get a lot of match funding through the state tourism office. And we're also committed to spend $100,000 for the 2023-2024 tourism co-op through the state starting in July, running through next year. Because again, the match on that is such a great way to leverage our funding. We also did some local advertising here recently. We ran some Facebook ads. We had a billboard up and we did 2 Good Day PA appearances for our Meal Madness campaign that ran all of March. And we also were on Good Day PA promoting the launch of the new beer trail. Those 2 campaigns do really well locally because our residents get excited, obviously, about restaurants and their favorite places. So those always do really well with our residents.
I know that Meal Madness was pretty fantastic. Got nice social media presence.
Yeah, people were really, really excited this year. Switching gears a little bit, we have a new advertising report that we've never been able to purchase before. We're really excited to get this. We just got this data and thought I was able to have it in time for this presentation. So we contracted with a company called Red House. They do these EEI advertising reports for a lot of destination marketing organizations, including the state tourism office, where they have a module that they plug in your spending and some other economic factors for your county or the state. And they're able to tell you the impact of your advertising. So we had them put in all of our advertising for last year, which ran January through October. So our paid media last year generated over 12.9 million in tourism related GDP for our area, which was 7% of all hotel tax revenue, about $5 million. So when you're looking at those numbers, our return on investment, so for every dollar we spent in advertising, it brought back $21.20 in visitor spending to our county. So I thought that was really exciting to share because we've never really been able to show the true value of our spend before. So I thought those were great numbers.
EEI.
Estimated economic impact.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I get lost in our own acronyms all the time.
That's good.
Switching over to our lodging data, 2023 has been a little up and down so far. So I have January, February, and we just got our March data from STAR for occupancy, average daily rate, and revenue per available room. Like I said, occupancy has been down a little bit compared to last year, but our hotels are really holding rate. So they're performing well from that perspective. From what I can tell, this is the trend, not just here, but regionally and across the state. The June event that Janet mentioned that we're having with our tourism partners, we're actually bringing in STAR, which is our lodging data partner, to give a presentation on national trends, state trends, regional trends, Cumberland County. So we can really see if what is happening here is reflective of what's happening everywhere. So
Did you say regional? Is that all of South Central? is it tri-county area, Greater Harrisburg?
When I say we, I mean our, us and our
Regional.
surrounding counties,
Regional
regional,
would be what, 8 counties?
Yes.
6?
8 counties. Yep. And the good thing too is now with the company arrivalists that I mentioned, we onboarded at the end of last year, we are able to look at this data and kind of dig in a little more. So when we see a dip in occupancy, we were making guesses previously, where now we can see, oh, that dip might be specifically in Carlisle. Oh, it was specifically from this point of interest. So we can make a lot more strategic outreach to our partners and really figure out how we can help impact these numbers. Speaking of arrivalists, again, we're still learning this system and the best way to use it and share this information, but just some Q1 2023 observations I wanted to share. We had an 8% increase in visitor share from Philadelphia, which is one of our target markets. They were mostly day trips, and about a third of them were visiting higher education. So again, trying to be strategic. We're having our sales team reach out to our higher education partners and specifically the athletic directors, because we're making an assumption that might be sporting events, to see if we can make an impact there to switch some of those day visits to make them into overnights. And we've also seen a little bit of a decrease in visitors from our local market. So that's Harrisburg, Lancaster, Lebanon, York. We're assuming that might be people getting back to more farther away travel, doing less backyard trips. And overall this quarter compared to 2022, we've seen more day trips and more weekend arrivals compared to every year, the state does an economic impact of travel and tourism for the entire state. They just came out with this report in March, but it's always 2 years old. So this data is new, but it's from 2021. But I do want to give you the information so you had it. They do provide a little bit of county data. They provide regional data, and then obviously they have some state numbers that I have here for you. So visitor spending in Cumberland Valley in 2021 was $775 million, which was a 26% increase over 2020. Each household in Cumberland Valley would need to be taxed an additional $403 to replace the visitor generated taxes of the activity coming to Cumberland Valley. And then this next bullet is not just Cumberland County. This is our region at the state level, which is Dutch Country Roads, which is actually a 9-county region. Just under 60,000 are employed in the region's travel and tourism industry. So 1 in 11 jobs in the region are travel and tourism represented. And then looking at the report at a state level, again, 2021, Pennsylvania saw 179.8 million visitors that year. And then there were just a couple other high-level stats I thought it'd be good for you all to have access to from that report. Switching back to us, I already talked about coffee and chocolate and beer trail. Ice cream trail will be launching again in May. We have a new logo, so your first eyes on that. And we're looking to relaunch the Fall Fun Trail this year and looking to launch that in midsummer. Visit Cumberland Valley. I won't go bore you with all the numbers, but the point here is that they're green. We continue to see increases in traffic, more people viewing our website.
Is graphics done internally? Your
Yes.
logos are very nice.
Yeah,
They got the
yes.
commonality.
Yeah, we're trying
but
to
they're still
make them look like they belong together.
Yeah, yet still you can.
Switching to destination sales efforts. Again, there's a lot going on here for a team of 1 person, but I will bring some highlights to you. One of them is that we are working with Keystone Aquatics on a new landmark conference swimming championship, which will be another 3-year event, bringing in significant overnight rooms in February. So our hotels should be excited about that because it's bringing in, again, overnight rooms in an off-season month. So we're excited about that. I also wanted to draw attention that we're working with the planner of the Unity Cup to see how we can help that event with its marketing and planning. And also currently working on some group tour efforts to do some sales trips with our hotel partners. We get a lot of day trips for group tours, working to see how we can turn those into overnights. Real quick, we have our visitor center located at History on High, the shop here with the Historical Society. It is currently closed due to a water damage situation. I just want you all to be aware of that. So we're currently sending all of our visitors to our information desk at the U.S. Army Heritage and Education Center while we figure that out.
How long is the lease for?
Hmm?
How long is the lease for down here?
I think we have 1 more year left on that until we can. They are, we are in talks with them though, because they're working on their new plan for the Historical Society. So we've been in close contact with them. continuing to grow content and put a lot of new events on our events calendar. Visit Cumberland Valley. That's always one of our top feed pages. We're really entering event season. We got a lot of great public relations around the Meal Madness campaign, around the launch of Beer Trail. A lot of, I think all local news stations picked up the Meal Madness campaign. Speaking of Meal Madness, we talked about that. We got a little over 48,000 votes for that campaign, which was almost double what we got last year. The Hamilton won, so that was really exciting. We got a lot of great promotion out of that, and that campaign led to these huge increases on Facebook and Instagram the past month because people are really engaged in that. Our economic development website, cumberlandbusiness.com, again, traffic continues to be up compared to last year, but the bullet I wanted to bring attention to is that first one is that we've selected a vendor to work on a new design for the economic development website. So that is long overdue. We're really excited about that. We're starting with a kickoff call next month, and we're excited to kind of bring the marketing team and the new economic development team together to kind of tackle this project and really get a new dynamic website to get more content and get more eyes on all of our economic development services and projects and stories going on in the economic development world for Cumberland County. And finally, I wanted to mention another exciting thing for our websites. It's currently on cumberlandbusiness.com, and we're working to get it on the tourism site as well. We've added an accessibility widget. So people with disabilities can click and change the website so it be used better for their needs. Back to you.
Okay. So just a couple more, I promise. On the administrative side, we did our annual reorganization meeting and orientations for our new and existing board and committee members. Those were held last month. We are recruiting, under recruiting, we have recruited an economic development manager who has hit the ground running and is working very hard and fitting into our team. We have 2 coordinator positions, one on the tourism and marketing side and one on the economic development side that are open. Interviews are occurring this week, and we hope to announce 2 new folks in the next week or 2. So we're excited about that. Our finance director did resign. We are working on a plan to move that position to another role, and outsourcing our Kevin Benton already does a lot of our fiscal work. We'll increase that a little bit, as well as hire an HR manager to do certain things for us in that way. And we can then look at a grants manager that would be responsible for identifying grants, writing grants, and working with the IDA. Under the topic of new office space, we are in the process of finalizing the negotiations on 2 proposals that we have received, and Campbell Commercial Real Estate is doing that for us. We hope to have that completed shortly so that we can announce where our new location is and begin the renovations that might be needed to get us in by the end of September. Under the area of finance updates, we had CCIDA and CAEDC audits concluded. Both were completed, reviewed, and accepted by the respective boards, and I believe are submitted to the county at this point. Anyone have any questions for us? I know we ran through a lot.
We're doing a lot, so I have one question on going back to the beginning. We've talked about the rack piece and how many we have out there. So now we've had a lot of success with rack piece in the past, and we were able to enjoy significant assistance from elected representation. So there's been a change there, of course. Now are we satisfied? We're still getting good advocacy on that, or do we need to work on that?
No, I think we are still getting good coverage, but we are looking at it because, not so much, not only on RACPs, but some of the other grants we may need to have some advocacy We did on the CYALDG have a meeting yesterday with the state. They are recommending that we have used some of their funds for lobbying in Washington. So if we're doing that, maybe it would be good to couple some of that with some of the work here.
They did have Cassidy on retainer in DC. So is that no longer the case then? Okay.
No. So we are watching that and looking at it. Want to make sure that we get the biggest bang for Cumberland's buck, if you will.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Yeah, of the visitors that get into Cumberland County, is it Philadelphia area still our biggest?
DC, Philadelphia.
So that hasn't changed.
Nope. And that's where we've been significantly invested in, so.
Good. That's all I have. Thank you. Very nice presentation.
Thank you.
So, okay, that's all of our topics of discussion. So we'll move along. We have item 5 is the catch-all for any additional business to come forward. Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Stand adjourned. Thank you.